Hey, this is Keegan with Applied Machine and welcome to another video. Today we're going over how to set up and calibrate your Renishaw part probe. I'm using the RMP60, but no matter which one you have, it's the same idea and you can follow along. Let's go ahead and begin. Okay, so here's a quick timestamp of all the things we're going to do in the video. Feel free to go where you want to go. We're going to go ahead and start off with getting the tool out of the machine, and then we're going to replace the stylus. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and cue this tool up, take it out of the machine. If you don't know how to do that, it's just manual tool management. You're going to go through and type in the tool number. Our tool number, as you can see here, is tool number 99. Your tool might be a different tool number. And again, I just hit tool changer auto and cycle start. Okay, so now that we have it out, let's go ahead and replace the stylus. As you can see here, I've got the Renishaw RMP60, and I'm going to go ahead and just install the new stylus. Either way, if you have to take it out or whatever, this might be the case if you had broken it or something like that. But if you look right here, there's just a little pinhole there. I'm going to use an Allen key, and you're just going to tighten that or loosen it, whichever step you're on. We'll go ahead and tighten that. It's just a pass-through pin, so just be careful not to put too much pressure, but you want to make sure it's on there good. All right, now we're using a 6mm ruby. That's important for later when you're doing the probing parameters, but for right now you can just see I got that 6mm ruby. And let's go ahead and talk a little bit about how the probe works if you're not familiar. So as you can see, we have these 4 set screws on either side of the probe, and that's what actually controls the motion. So essentially, if you want to, make it move front and back, you want to start by rotating the set screws front and back, loosening and tightening. And then if you want it to move left and right, you're going to have to do the same thing for the ones on that perspective side. It's not too complicated, but it can take some getting used to. We're going to have it set up like this with the indicator on the ruby. And this part of the process requires a 1/10 low pressure indicator, since we only want less than 1/10 of runout. Basically, the main idea is you want to reduce the runout, like I said, between 1/10. So you're just going to find the high and the low, and you're going to try to meet it at the middle. And as you do that, you're just going to rotate your probe 0, 180, 90, 270. And you're just going to work on it like that and get it really close as you can to 0 each time, cutting that number in half. And that should get you really close. And as you can see in this next clip, we're really right there, right in between that 1/10. Okay, up next is the part probe parameters. So let's just go through and touch on these really quick, and we can go into more detail later. So the first thing I just want you to look at is we are in inches, and these are the parameters that Renishaw recommends as the defaults, right? So we have the stylus diameter. We're going to switch it over to metric real quick so you can see this as well. We have the stylus diameter as 6mm. That's because ours is 6mm ruby. And I want you to pay attention to the speeds and the feeds and all the other things like that that might be important for you. If you were to lose your settings, you can then refer back to this screen. Other things to look at, if you don't know what like max spread or, the X min and Y max, you got the circular pass. You can look all those up on support.hurco.com, or you can find that in your control if you hit the help key, and it'll just bring you to this page. Basically, you can click on all the definitions and it'll tell you everything you need to know. All right, so now what we're going to do is go through and actually set up the tool calc length for the probe. So it's important to already have your probe down to the table, maybe an inch or ½ inch away from the table. And then we're actually going to do a Z-edge detection from the table. So we're going to go part setup, part probing, and then we can go into the part 0 cycles and edge. And now we're going to set it up to be a Z-axis and go ahead and start that cycle. What this is going to do is it's going to detect your table, and it'll give us a machine coordinate from the difference between the end of the probe, and we're going to take that number, that -15 number right there, the machine again, and we're going to subtract it from the actual calibrated length from our table to the tip of the spindle. So now you can go ahead and exit this screen, and we're going to go to the tool review, tool setup, and if you hit more, and then it's under tool management settings. Now this Z reference is the number between the gauge line of your spindle and the top of your table. If you don't know, the gauge line is a little bit above where the tool holder sits inside the spindle. So we're going to subtract our 23 from that negative 15. So it's going to end up with a positive number, right? So if we do the math real quick, we get 8.3987, just like you can see there. And that is now the tool calc length of our probe. So I wanted to quickly show you how we got this Z reference number. Okay, so what's used is a master tool. It's a precision ground master tool. As you can see, the length is 4.9997. And it also gives us the diameter. We don't really care about the diameter right now since we're doing the Z reference, but we're going to go ahead and put this tool into the spindle. Okay, and now what I'm going to use is a 50 millimeter tool setter. You can use a 123 block or whatever type of tool setter you have, as long as it's a known length. That's really important. So I'm going to put this on the table. And now I've already gone through and cleaned the table, make sure it's nice and clean. And I'm going to go ahead and bring you a little bit closer here. So then we can go ahead and lower the Z-axis down. And again, right there, I'm just going to bring it down just a bit. Now this particular one, I have to bring the dial all the way down. I think it's 2 or 3 times. Basically, I'm just getting it to where the zeros, both of the dials are in 0. Little dial and the big dial. Right there. Okay. Okay, now with this Z reference field highlighted, I'm going to hit store machine position. Now, before you do this, take a picture or something, that way you have what your previous value is set at, just so you can make sure it's there. So I'm going to hit store machine position. Right, and now this is this number 16, right? Negative 16. If you remember, it was negative 24 beforehand. Right, so this is the length without the tool and without the tool setter. Okay, so what we're gonna have to do is add both of those together, and we'll get that negative 23, which is our true Z reference number. So the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and add my tool. Now, if you remember, it was 4.9997, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do 4.9997, and I'm gonna subtract that. This is really important. Hit enter. And it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to make this change? Because it's really important. I'm going to hit yes. Okay, now we're getting there. Now, if you remember, I'm going to change this to metric. And I'm going to do the same thing for the tool setter. It was a 50 millimeter tool setter. So I did 50. Hit the subtraction button. Hit enter. And yes, I know I'm making that change. Now I can switch back from imperial to switch back to imperial, and now you can see I have that true Z reference number. Just a quick note, if you're interested in products like the indicator, the master tool, and even the tool setter, be sure to reach out to us because we are a machine tool distributor, so we might be able to hook you up with a good deal. Now let's talk about getting your X and Y deflection offsets with a ring gauge. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put our ring gauge on the table. And I'll talk more about this later, but I just put these marks on here so you can see it. We're really only going to check the left, right, front, and back. There's no need to check the diagonals or anything, but I'll explain more in a minute. But we use these magnets to hold down the ring gauge onto the table, mainly because if you were to clamp it in a vise, there's a chance you could get it out of true. You don't want to skew it or something like that. You want this to be as precise as possible, so there that is. So I want to go ahead and put in my indicator right now. I'm just using this extension arm, but on a drill chuck. There's other ways to do this. This is just how I am doing it right now. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the spindle. Okay, so we can go ahead and lower this guy down. And someone told me that a good way to adjust and try to get close to where you need to be, right? We don't know where exactly this is. Someone told me that a good way to do that is kind of bring it in just a bit. And again, this can only rotate with the spindle, right? So if I follow that little needle, right, I can kind of quickly get close to where I need to be just by spinning this guy around and saying, hey, I'm kind of close there. and the X, right? I can get a little bit closer. And the Y, I can kind of see, hey, it's kind of tracing in this case. Um, I'm not touching anything again, but it's getting close to tracing this contour. Now I can see it's a little bit out, so I can kind of get it a little bit closer, and that's gonna at least get me close enough so that I can, so let me get another spin. At least can get it close enough where I can kind of be in the general ballpark of where I want to be. Now I can go ahead and bring it in a little bit lower, so I'll put it right there, lower my Z, and we can touch off right there. Now I can start doing the fine tuning. Okay, so I have my indicator. I've already generally swept the outside surface, and now I'm really just dialing in where I want to be the center at, okay? So I can tell, I'm gonna go around and I'll show you really quick. You can see we're gonna only touch off 4 points, basically. We're gonna do the front, the back, the left, and the right, okay? So I'm gonna go around and show you the right and the left first, because it's a little bit easier to see on camera. So on the right, you can see that the needle, I'm going to use my 0 as the reference, but we're not going off of 0 because we're just setting it up the first time, right? So I'm going to use my 0 as the reference, but you can see it's to the right or clockwise about 3 ticks past 0. Okay, then I'm going to go to the left. We're going to go to the left side. And again, the lighting isn't the best on this side of the machine, but we can tell we are, let's see, looks like we're about 5 ticks to counterclockwise, right? So on this side, if we look, so this time we're clockwise to the right, about 3 ticks, and on this side, we are about 5 or 6 ticks to the left, or counterclockwise, okay? So now, if I go and I want to adjust that, I want to cut the difference, right? So we're about 3 on the right here, on this side, and then on the other side, we're about 6. So I'm going to move so that that dial is about halfway where I left it, right? So we're cutting the difference in half. And each time we cut the difference, it should get closer and closer to being true. So let me move my x-axis and cut the difference. Okay. I'm going to rotate it around one more time. So again, we're not going to worry about the dial moving a little bit. But let's see. So now we're about 1 tick clockwise down the right. And on the left side, we're about, it's like maybe 2 or 3 ticks counterclockwise. So let me adjust it one more time. And now let's see where we're at. We're at about 1 tick, if not almost in the middle of that tick. To the left or counterclockwise. And on this side, we are right about there. So that's, again, we're not using 0 right this second. We're going to use this 1 tick counterclockwise away from the 0. And those are at the same point, right? So now we can turn our attention to the front and the back. So if we look at this, right, we have, it looks like, I'm going to use that 0 as my reference mark again, just so I can have something to compare to. It looks like we're about maybe 9 or 10 ticks to counterclockwise from 0. And I'm going to go all the way around. And it looks like we're about the same going the other direction, right? So I'm going to change it to my y-axis. And I'm going to move my y-axis to cut that difference down right about halfway, right? I'm just using the where it's at on the gauge, on the indicator, and I'm coming all the way out here. Again, I'm trying to keep this semi-short, but as you can see, I'm right about 4 or 5 ticks counterclockwise. And then I'm going to cut that one more time. Right. Cut that difference down. So now as I go around it, let's see, that should be pretty spot on. And I'm going to go around it one more time. And we should have minimal run out. And again, at least for this video. But you really just want to have it as close to center as you can. And again, there really only matters those 4 points. Okay. Okay, and now we can go ahead and actually do it. So go part setup, part probing, and at the bottom there you can see we have the part probe deflection offset. We're doing this and we're using a ring gauge. So now you want to make sure this diameter matches what your ring gauge is, right? So we're going to head and it's exactly 2. The X center and the Y center, since we're already there, I'm just going to hit the store machine position. And for the datum Z, we're going to lower our probe so that the ruby is below the top of your gauge. Now we can go ahead and set that Z, and so I'm going to store it now that I'm in that position. Now, one quick thing to note, this deflection Z offset. This is really important that you change this to 0 because Hurco no longer uses deflection offset Z anymore. So we just keep it blank, keep it 0. So now let's go ahead and hit the deflection offset menu and use gauge to get X and Y offset. Now this footage is sped up and cropped down a little bit, but I just wanted to show you it's just going to go all the way around that ring gauge, and once it's done it'll update you with what it found. Alright, now you know how to set up your part probe. Be sure to stay tuned because in a future video we're going to go over how to set up your tool probe as well, the same process and everything like that. Thank you for watching, and if you have any video recommendations, be sure to leave them in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.